Hey there, it's Shannon. Welcome back to Second Act Success. I am bringing you a really interesting conversation with Kerry Ann King, the CEO of Illuminate Labs, a software development company dedicated to creating inclusion solutions for human well being. Kerry Ann will share her path to becoming a tech founder in her 50s. She will talk about all of her ventures leading up to this and what she is doing to make strides for women in the tech space. Are you ready to quit your 9 to 5 job and start a business of your own? Well, you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the Second Act Success Career Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Russell. I am a former television producer turned business owner, career transition coach, and boy mom. My mission is to help you produce your best life. This podcast will teach you how to get from where you are now to where you want to be and how to build a business that fits your life and lights you up. Let's get started. Welcome, Kerry Ann King, to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited.
Yay. Well, you have such a great story and a wonderful company and have definitely gone through the second acts in your life. Where did your career begin?
So it's funny that this is called second act success, but I would really say that I'm on like my third or fourth act.
A lot of guests say that. Yep.
I think we're fairly typical.
Once you change once, you can just keep adding on and doing different things. I think that's great.
And I think it's unrealistic in a certain sense. There are people who have wonderful careers that are a trajectory from A to Z without skipping a letter, without deviating into the numbers or the shapes but
Mhm.
realistically, most of us need to have a path that's a little bit more winding.
Yeah, I agree. I was
Yeah.
actually just at my a doctor's appointment and I was telling her about my book that's coming out and it's called Start Your Second Act. And she said, well, I want the book, but I'm not starting a second act. Is that okay? I'm like, you are an OBGYN. You've got an amazing first act. You do not need to change. But yeah, some people want to, they've started off, they put in their dues and they want to stick it out. But you and I are a little different.
Exactly. I could go to the way, way back, but I'll start kind of in the middle of the story. Many, many years ago, almost 21 years ago, I was pregnant for the third time with a set of twins, which is wonderful and exciting, but I also was on bed rest for a super long time. I was getting a PhD in clinical psychology, wasn't loving seeing patients, but was enjoying a lot of the intellectual aspects of it. And then I had used my medical leave for my first 2 kids. I had no more medical leave. I was gonna have to leave the program and reapply no matter what. And actually, I called the office secretary from a labor bed in the hospital. Literally, I had gone into labor. It was only 22 weeks. It was a
Oh,
big emergency, and she never called me back. And in a certain sense, it may have been done me a huge favor because what happened was once I had these 4 little kids, I started to look for something that I could do that was flexible, so I went into group fitness. So that's kind of act 1, moving into act 2. I loved act 2. I loved being a group fitness instructor. It's a great job for a young mom, right? All I had to
right.
do was show up, have fun, look cute, be friendly, and leave. I had a couple
Perfect.
of yeah, I literally never saw my boss.
Yeah.
They hired me because I had a reputation. They weren't there when I was teaching. I wasn't there when they were. So it was great. It was great for a young mom.
And a great way to get in shape while you're helping others get healthy.
Oh, absolutely. And that I used to say that to people all the time, and they would say, "You're in such good shape." And it's probably made it my job,
Right.
right? If I were an accountant, I would be good at being an accountant, but
Very
I'm good
true.
at being in shape. So anyway, I happened to get a job teaching one dance class a week at the Google offices in New York City. And that was really what started my third act, largely because I complained a lot about everything. The studio wasn't clean, the class schedule didn't make sense, there was drop off in some of the classes attendance, but not others. And because of all the other work that I had done before that, I even had a stint in marketing before I got my PhD and
Oh,
was getting my PhD in clinical psychology. So I had a lot of experience. And I just applied it to everything that was presented to me. And I was in an environment where people had the attitude, if someone has a good idea, we're going to let that person do something. You don't think the studio is clean? Why don't you straighten it up? We'll pay you to do that. You don't think the schedule makes sense? Why don't you tell us what you think it should be and we'll pay you to do that? So I jokingly say I complained my way to the top, exited that job as the director of community working for their fitness vendor Exos. Really was excited about employee engagement and inclusion. And those are all the things that I was really passionate about. Took a brief detour into pharma. It was a pharma company where, not to get too deep into the pharma business model, but they had a molecule that had done very well that was going off patent. They didn't have a molecule to replace it, so their revenue went from here to here, and when that happens, people lose their jobs. But it was a great layoff. They were very generous, and that actually got me into my fourth act, which is Illuminate Labs.
Okay, so you've had these different iterations of your career, and then you had a layoff, which is, again, in my opinion, another sign to take it to the next level, right? And what made you want to head out on your own and start a business at that point?
So it was a few things, some of them philosophical and some of them emotional. From an emotional standpoint, I think as a woman in tech, I did frequently feel very thwarted. Like my leadership skills were half recognized in a weird way. I got promoted, I got advanced. I never felt like I was really getting into the inner circle,
Okay. Hmm.
and which was frustrating to me. From a career point of view, the idea of being able to have an organization where I was making the decisions and able to put myself in that position. I said to my husband, I'm going to give myself the title that I always wanted.
Exactly. Yeah. You were the inner circle.
Yeah, exactly. I am. I am the inner circle.
Yeah.
And then from a philosophical standpoint, when we look at the way tech uses the consumer, and this has become more and more, in my view, problematic, it seemed to me that if we want tech to really be focused on human well-being, not just from the point of view of like, this app is supposed to make me a better person or this software is supposed to help me be more efficient, but really focus on the impact that the tech has on us as individuals, that you really had to start that from outside of big tech. The importance of the algorithmic business model, the business model in tech that really exploits the consumer. It's just built into the business model. It's part of the structure. So if
Right.
we want to change that, we really need to step outside of it to make that change.
Tell me about your thoughts on what Illuminate Labs would be when you created it.
I actually got started with a friend of mine who got laid off from Google. So he and I had known each other while I was at Google. We hadn't really worked directly together, but he was aware of what I had done and kind of my interest in productivity and human well-being and all that stuff. So we started working on it together. And really, that was about creating an inclusive app for people with neurodivergence as a way to keep track of their time management, their tasks, and so on and so forth. We were coming at it, he from kind of like a to-do list perspective, and me more from a psychological perspective of how our feelings about the things we have to do either help or hinder our ability to get them done.
Mhm.
So that was really the core project that we started working on. But then for me, it was really important not to start this just as, oh, we're going to do this thing. I really wanted us to be clear about what our mission was, what our goals were. So that kind of led to Illuminate Labs building out. And he eventually exited. The entrepreneurial life wasn't really working for him. So, I really got to think about what I wanted the mission to be, what I wanted our purpose to be, and really started that process alongside the process of building the app that we have today.
What is the app called?
The app is called Fin Positive Productivity. And what it offers is not just a to do list, but actual real coaching with a real person about what you have on your list of things you need to do and list of habits that you want to build. We've seen it be really powerful, particularly with the coaching. It really helps accelerate people's ability to build those habits, understand where they might be avoiding something, understand things that they need to just not do, right? Like it's so powerful to have someone look at your to-do list and say, you've had return this dress on your to-do list for a month and a half.
Right.
Is it really that important? Because then what happens, particularly I think for women, we are asked to multitask so much. Those things that end up on the list that don't get done just become thorns in of whatever it is, like
Yeah, kind of
guilt,
anxiety of like, I know I
self-disappointment.
have to.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, why am I not doing this? And I should have done that. And I had to do this. And why didn't I do that? And really helping people pare things down, understand what's essential, and be able to coach them on that in the moment
Hmm.
rather than at a once a week session or in some less immediate way.
That's a brilliant idea. And it's kind of just that coach is the accountability partner to help you get it done or prioritize what needs to get done first. That's a great idea. I haven't seen anything like that.
Or even, break it down. Like, I cannot tell you how many times people put things on their to-do list that are projects. Clean out the garage. That's not a to-do item.
No.
That's a 2-month project, depending upon how busy you are and what your garage looks like, right?
Right.
So it's really nice to be able to have those moments where you can help someone like understand what it is they're actually looking at.
And what has the reception been like for users of the app?
Reception has been good. I think our rating average in our private ratings is about 4.3, so not perfect, but we're getting there. It's definitely not for everyone, and this is something that I thought about a lot. Like, all I have to do is go in the app store. There are lots of to-do apps out there. It's not that
Mhm.
we necessarily need another one from a numbers point of view, but I sincerely believe that part of the reason there's such a proliferation of those things is because everybody's needs are individual.
Mhm.
And there is, I think, from a business perspective, space for tiny differentiations in the market because so much of the what it means to keep track of your tasks and your habits is so individual.
I think that's brilliant. Yeah, and that brings in the inclusivity and you really thinking about what the needs are of consumers out there. Now that you built the company, are you working on other apps and are you bringing other people on to help you with more of that tech aspect of actually developing it?
That's a really good question. I do have 2 developers I work with. One is in Rwanda and one is in Ghana. And I have a designer who's in Washington State, or actually now she's in Idaho. So am not a technical person. I did need to go outside for that technical help. And I really spent a lot of time vetting who I was going to hire. I don't know if you've ever gone on Upwork or
Mhm.
Fiverr and tried to find someone to do something for you. It just feels overwhelming. You
Yeah.
start getting scam calls almost immediately. So, luckily for me, my former partner, he had connections to developers in Ghana. And that kind of kicked off my offshore search. So I interviewed about 20 people, really came down to looking for people who were a little bit more experienced in working internationally and who had built their own apps. They had built something from soup to nuts so they could be thought partners, not just code jockeys, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to supervise their work directly. So, in terms of future projects, one of our future projects is actually software consultancy. My relationship with the guys has been great. We have fun working together. They're super smart. They're easy to work with because the time zones are not perfectly aligned, but they're aligned enough that it's a normal time to do business for on both sides. So really offering kind of boutique offshoring with me as the project manager. We have the designer available if people want, and really being able to serve super small companies. Really, we're thinking like 1 to 100 people who
Mhm.
have the desire to build a piece of software or maintain a website or improve some sort of technical aspect of what they're doing, but going to a Fiverr or an Upwork overwhelming.
Mhm.
So that's one. And then we do have a bunch of apps that we're talking about what we're interested in as a group. Agriculture is like a big thing for all of us in different ways. In fact, Phil, the developer in Ghana, just started a chicken farm.
Oh, how
So
exciting.
yeah, no, it's so fun because they're entrepreneurs also. It's so fun to work with them and, like, talk through problems and get videos of Phil's chicken. Like, it's so cool.
Oh my gosh, that's a great collaboration, and to find those people that you trust and you're on the same page. If you are thinking about starting a business in 2025 and you're looking for a little guidance on how to get you there, head over to secondactsuccess.co and book a call with me. Let's have a chat about your goals to see if I can better support you as you transition from where you are to where you want to be. Go to secondactsuccess.co and click on that green button to book a call or grab a link in the show notes below. I am excited to meet with you and to help you as you start your second act in 2025.
Exactly, and that, I think, for better or for worse, for most very small organizations or individuals who wanna build something in tech, offshoring is an inevitability.
Mm.
We just don't have the talent, and the talent that's here is just too expensive if you're a small organization. It's just the way it is. And really finding and for me, it was really important to look beyond the places where we normally go for that tech offshoring,
Yeah.
right? It was really important to me that we were looking in Africa. There's a very vibrant tech scene in Africa that is underutilized. So being able to also begin to build those connections has been super fun and rewarding.
It's kind of all part of your mission of creating this inclusivity in the tech space and the workplace. And it's to me, it seems like it's kind of that thread that's kind of woven through your entire career in all different aspects, right? Just building that community and that communication.
I really feel like that is the key to innovation.
Mm.
When we are able to learn about different perspectives, see how other people do things, that inspires us to think differently ourselves and to grow ourselves. And I believe so strongly that we need that for innovation. In fact, one of the reasons why I have not sought venture capital as part of this project is because I feel like it's really important that we not concentrate the power in tech into the same smaller and smaller group of people. And that's part of what happens with
Oh, yeah.
venture, right? It's the same 15 guys who are all,
Guys.
like 15 guys. So really kind of thinking of this as building it for us. And by us, I mean the broadest possible definition. One of my kind of dream apps is I'm part of this group on Facebook called Organic Cow.
Mm.
It's a bunch of folks who are trying to raise their cattle organically. I don't agree with everything that goes on that page, right? There are people who have opinions that I disagree with. I still would love to deliver something to them that would allow them to diagnose mastitis in their cows without having to resort to Facebook, because that's crazy that what people are
Yeah.
doing is like, I've seen so many parts of a cow on Facebook that I hadn't seen before, that I didn't think I was going to see that much of.
No.
But like, that's like, these are people who need questions answered that technology could be helping answer efficiently.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what we need to be doing, is building tech that makes ordinary people's lives easier, not uses ordinary people's lives to extract value.
Brilliantly said. That really is. It's so incredible that you can be the one creating this. A woman in tech is thinking of this and creating that, and then bringing people from all over the world together on this project to help people all over the world. It's really a project so much bigger than yourself. You're giving back, you're creating, and then offering other people this tool. So inspiring to, I'm sure, listeners and younger women who are thinking, well, should I try to get in the tech space? It is all guys, but it's not. There are so many women who are trying to make these big strides that you've made, and it's really inspiring.
And we need to do more, right? It's very tempting to feel like, how can I possibly stem this tide, move forward when there's so many forces against me? But really, that friction is what creates heat.
Mm,
And if we can lean into that friction, and I'm not saying I can lean into it always. Like, I have my moments, trust me, where I'm like, what have I done? But I believe in the mission, and I try to use that friction to give me traction to move forward.
mm,
That's the entrepreneurial journey. Like, when people have asked me what's the hardest thing about it, number one for me, coming from really large organizations, I miss being in the office. Not gonna lie, I would be in the office every day if I had an office with people in it to go to. So I miss that, but then kind of being able to keep the energy to keep going because like anybody who's developed an app will tell you, it's gonna break. It's gonna have bugs. It's not gonna be what you thought it was gonna be as soon as you thought it was gonna be that. It's read the Lean Startup. I highly recommend it for anybody who's looking to move into tech. So you have to be able to, like, use that friction as traction rather than as a reason to walk away.
mhm. Yes, and you're learning from the members on your team, and I think there's something really cool about the way we live now, working from home and not being in the office. I'm with you. I miss those water cooler office days, but there's something about being an entrepreneur and creating your own schedule and bringing in those people that you want to spend your time with and collaborate on. It's incredible in its own right that you've got, partners, people that you're working with that are in other countries, and you can get together, see their chickens, talk to people about their cows on Facebook. We're connected in different ways nowadays, but the tech is just going to keep, evolving, and it's a really cool place that we're in.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate your optimism. I think that's really no, for real, because I think it's very easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by what's happening in tech. Lots of people are afraid about AI. Lots of people are afraid they're going to lose their jobs. Lots of people are afraid that it's going to make it easier rather than enhancing people's lives, it's actually going to be make it easier to exploit people. Like, and those fears are real,
I have those fears too. Yeah.
but there's so much good that could come out of this. That's one of the things that we don't really have enough data to build it right now. But one of the things that we really are interested in doing in the to-do space is like helping people understand what to expect. If you say clean out the garage, like, I can tell you my estimate is it's going to take you 2 months if you're being real. But imagine if what we could do is say to someone, it's going to take you 2 months. You're going to need this many boxes. Like, gives people some predictability.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we found really interesting, and that again, we can only say this anecdotally right now, in terms of habit building, we've seen some really interesting trends. For example, people seem to kind of sneak up on their habits. Like they'll put a routine in their to-do list, like I want to drink more water every day. And they'll do it for a couple days and then they won't do it for a week. And then they'll do it for a couple days and they won't do it for a month. But then there's like this point where it clicks
Mm.
and suddenly they're doing it every day. And it's become part of how they do things. I think about that so much. People have New Year's resolutions and stuff, and it's so easy when you're in that position to be like, ah, I missed the gym 3 days in a row. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna go. It's not gonna happen this year. Like to get and but what we're seeing in the app is that if you come back again and then come back again, every time you come back, even if there's days or weeks in between, every time you come back is getting you closer to that point where it's gonna click.
Mm. The
And
slow
how
build of a habit.
Yeah, and how important it is rather than get down on yourself for not doing it this time, get up on yourself for the time for doing it again.
Oh, that's so
So,
smart.
yeah,
Own how you look at it.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
honestly, right?
I'd love to ask you your advice for someone who is thinking about maybe switching careers and venturing into the tech space, especially women. What advice do you have for them starting out?
I would say I'm gonna stick to speaking to non-technical founders because I think that's the most close to my experience. I
Mhm.
think if you're a non-technical founder, you have to treat hiring your technical team the way you would treat hiring someone to renovate your house or fix your car. They don't be intimidated. You hire experts who do something that you don't completely understand all the time. The person I don't understand, the lady who colors my hair, I don't know what's going on. I sit in the chair and she does some stuff to my hair and then I leave and it looks better. So, really thinking about evaluating your team that does this technical thing. It's not magic. They're not wizards. They're experts who do something that you don't understand. How do you evaluate them? And I would recommend from my own experience, looking at their portfolio, go into their database, even if you don't completely understand what's going on, even just how something is organized, right? If your contractor shows up and his truck is rusty, aren't you kind of like, I don't know whether I want him to fix my house, right? That kind of stuff would be one piece of advice. And the other piece of advice I would give, and this is something I wish I had followed more earlier on, find as many people as you can to learn from. Make those meetings with the random person who you don't know, but they seem to know something. You can learn something from almost every meeting, even if what you learn is what kind of person you're not going to talk to the next time.
Mm. That's great advice. Learn what you can and follow your vibes, your heart on what feels right for you. I'd like to ask you one more question about habits. So for a lot of my listeners, they are trying to maybe leave their job and start a business. Any advice on habits to maybe get into to get yourself ready for that kind of a career transition?
I'm a huge fan of habits, especially under stress.
Mm.
I think when things are uncertain, your habits are the things that you can go back to ground yourself. And I mean, all of them, right? Whether it's what you do in the morning, how you manage your inbox, like all of those things help to ground you. There's some specific habits that you want to focus on. Connect, connect with people who are where you want to be next. Even if it's weird for you, even if it's embarrassing. I mentor in an organization that helps first generation college students enter the workforce. For a lot of us, networking sucks. right? I'm a very social person. I do not like to network.
I have to network tonight at an event and it's like hanging over me.
It is a skill that you can practice, right? So get into that now. Don't wait until you're standing outside the door of where you were before and be like, okay, where are my people at? So make that a habit. And then I would say build personal habits that ground you because it's going to be a ride. Things are going to get hairy. That's just true. I have a very kind of regular routine for my morning. I track all of my to-dos and I look every day at what I did. I use Fin, obviously, and it has a recap section. So you can see how you did the day before. And I look at it and I say to myself, look at what I did. I did this one thing that was really worrying me, but I knuckled down and I did it. Yay me. This other thing I didn't do, I really want to get to that. But, whatever it is intervened, like really make a habit of the things that will support you moving forward. And
Mhm.
it can be anything like I do the Wordle, not the Wordle. I do the Wordle also, but I do the Wordle every
Okay.
day. It's like a map.
Ooh,
It
okay.
shows you a country and you have to guess what country it is based on the shape. I do that every morning because it's like my little like grounded routine that I have. And part of it is something that's just fun and frivolous and makes me happy. And I text with my husband about which one of us did better. Make those things habits too.
I love that. That is such excellent advice. Everything that you've shared has been wonderful. Where can my listeners connect with you and learn more about your app and your company and everything?
So we're at illuminatelabs.com. That's illuminate with an E. Fin Positive Productivity is in the App Store and the Android Store. You can find me personally on LinkedIn, Kerry Ann King. And we're also Illuminate and Fin are on Facebook and on Instagram.
Wonderful. I'll link to everything in the show notes, making sure that everyone can easily find you. And thank you so much, Carrie Ann. I really appreciate you sharing your journey, all of your acts, and all of your amazing advice. I love what you're working on and what you're doing to make a difference in the tech world.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found some gems of inspiration and some takeaways to help you on your path to second act success. To view show notes from this episode, visit secondactsuccess.co. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Reviews only take a few moments and they really do mean so much. Thank you again for listening. I'm Shannon Russell, and this is Second Act Success.